I will be going over the merge portion of my first What If. What if the casts of DISVENTURE Camp were swapped? Before we get into this, I just wanted to thank you all so much for the support. I did not expect so many people to even see it, so for it to have reached 4K views in less than 2 days is insane. That out of the way, let's get into the video. Episode 8. Questionnaire, if you dare. The episode begins with James, again, trying to talk to Aiden. He apologizes to him, saying it was a stupid move, and he shouldn't have manipulated him like that. Aiden is still not happy with James and says, "Yeah, you shouldn't have." James tells Aiden he hasn't met someone like him, ever. He wants them to work this out and be friends again. Aiden looks unsure, but due to James' heartfelt apology, he says, I'm gonna gather my thoughts. Thanks." Aiden smiles as he hurriedly walks away. Trevor then officially announces the merge. They'll move into a shared cabin and will be fighting for individual immunity. Rosa, Lake, and Rhea pack up together. Rosa says she's excited to see Maggie again. Lake agrees, saying them four will rule the merge. Rosa and Lake chuckle together. Rhea smiles but looks away, conflicted. Lake asks Rhea how the teal team was, and Rhea says they were fine. They were just closer. Rosa says that's good. Maggie must have been in good hands then. Maggie walks up and Rosa hugs her, saying she's missed her, and asks if everything is alright. Were they okay? Maggie says they were nice, and that she even befriended Hunter. Lake joins in on the hug. Rhea stays back, but gets waved in by Rosa Maria. As the campers arrive at their shared campsite, Jensen tells them Trevor and Derek will be waiting for them at the challenge area. The hosts explain the challenge. Each camper are given a phone with personal questions about the others based on their opinion. After all the questions are answered, Derek will ask those questions one by one, based on what the campers think the majority of them have answered. Allie asks what the cages are for, and Trevor explains that each camper starts with 3 lives, and for every question answered correctly, they'll get to choose any of their opponents to lose a life, causing the cage to lower. If someone loses all their lives, they're out. Last person standing wins immunity. On to the questions. The first one is, who would never survive in camp alone? James votes for Maggie. Rhea votes for Aiden. Aiden votes for Rhea. Hunter votes for Aiden. Rosa votes for Aiden. Allie votes for Aiden. Lake votes for Allie. And Maggie votes for Aiden. This means Rhea, Hunter, Rosa, Allie, and Maggie get to take a life. Rhea takes one from Allie. Hunter takes one for Rhea as revenge. Rosa takes one from James. Allie takes one from Lake. And Maggie takes another one from James. Next question. Who is most likely to spend the million in less than a month? Everyone but Hunter would vote James. Hunter voted Allie. He snickers, finding it funny, until he sees Allie glaring at him. He defends himself, saying she loves video games. Allie is not amused. James would take a life from Rosa. Rhea would take one from Aiden. Aiden takes one from James, eliminating him. Rosa takes one from Hunter. Allie takes one from Rhea again. Rhea's confused. Lake takes one from Hunter, and Maggie takes one from Allie. Next question. Who is most trustworthy? Rhea votes for Rosa. Aiden votes for Lake. Hunter votes for Allie. Allie tells him to think about what the others would think, not what Hunter thinks. Hunter is disappointed. Rosa votes for Lake. Allie votes for Rosa. Lake and Maggie also vote for Rosa. This means Rhea, Allie, Lake, and Maggie can take a life. Rhea takes the last one off of Allie. Allie then takes Rhea out with her, annoying Rhea. Lake takes out Hunter and apologizes, and then Maggie also says sorry before taking one off of Aiden. Next question. Who wouldn't you want to see win the million? Aiden votes for Hunter. Rosa, Lake, and Maggie all vote for James. This means only Aiden wouldn't be able to take a life. Rosa takes the last one from Aiden. The three look at each other and ask how this should go. Rosa then declares they'll give immunity to Maggie. Maggie is surprised, but takes it. The next question doesn't really matter since Rosa and Lake will be voting for each other, giving Maggie immunity. After the challenge, James approaches Allie and Hunter. He says they'll need to work together as Rosa, Maggie, Lake, Rhea, and Aiden are all voting together. Allie is surprised at the size of the group. Hunter is worried, asking how they'll ever outvote them. Rhea then coughs, asking if they need help. They're surprised at Rhia's appearance. Rhea says she wants to vote with them. Ali asks if she's sure after all that happened. Rhea shrugs and quotes Ali, "No hard feelings." Ali smiles. Hunter asks who they'll vote. Aiden walks up to Lake and asks who they're voting for. Lake says James. Aiden looks unsure and asks if they can vote anyone else. Lake says Rosa is determined to vote James for helping Yule and almost getting Maggie voted out. She apologizes. Aiden looks sad, but understands. The voting ceremony arrives, where Derek says they'll be revealing who everyone voted for. Trevor says he didn't agree to this, but Jensen plays the videos anyways. James votes Lake. Just voting with the Alliance. Maggie votes for James. This is for almost sending me home. Ali votes Lake. She only shrugs. Hunter votes Lake. The girls' alliance is too strong. Sorry, Lake. Lake votes James. I hope Aiden will vote with us. Aiden votes James. Sorry, James. Rosa votes James. You should have known better than to work with Yule. And the last video plays. Rhea votes Lake. Sorry, Lake, but I want to win too. Rhea looks horrified as Lake, Maggie, and Rosa's heads turn to her, all looking upset. Derek cheers, saying it's a tiebreaker, and asks Trevor if he had anything prepared. Trevor says he does, and for everyone to follow him. As Rosa Maria passes Rhea, she says she thought better of her. Trevor announces the tiebreaker, which will be the same as in All-Stars, where both James and Lake will get locked in a cage and they'll try to get the key to free themselves. Lake and James enter the cages, and Derek says to start the challenge. I can honestly see this going either way, but I thought it over for a while, and I think due to them being smarter than the other, and probably having researched some things for her writing, Lake would win, causing James to be eliminated. Aiden looks guilty. James sighs and congratulates Lake. Aiden runs up to him and gives him a hug. He apologizes profusely for voting for him. James smiles and says it's alright. He understands. Aiden walks James out. James says he's never met anyone as kind, as genuine as him, as they wait for the bus. Aiden tears up a little, still apologizing profusely for getting him voted out. The two share a goodbye kiss, much to Aiden's surprise. James gets picked up by the bus, leaving a flustered Aiden behind. Episode 9. Don't Open. Campers Inside. We see Rhea soaking behind their cabin right after the elimination. The three girls walk up, wanting to hang out there, but leave once they see Rhea. Rhea in confessional says that the three don't even want to talk to her anymore. It was just a single vote, she scoffs, folding her arms like a child. Inside the cabin, Aiden is still unhappy about James's elimination. Lake walks up to him and apologizes. Aiden says it isn't her fault. He would have been sad either way. The next morning, Rosa and Maggie prepare food together. Rosa Maria complains, saying she can't believe what Rhea did. Maggie agrees, but does sympathize with her, saying she doesn't know her position. Rosa says they were friends. She can't understand what reason she would have. Rosa then tells Maggie to let her handle the food, and Maggie can just rest. Maggie smiles. After assembling at the challenge area, the campers are annoyed to find that Derek and Trevor are absent. Suddenly, a canister of purple gas is tossed at the contestants, knocking them all unconscious. When the 7 of them awake, they find themselves inside one of the cabins. Lake says the sky changed colors and thinks it's nighttime. After a few seconds, Ada asks Rhea if she's always been wearing that hat. Rhea says she wasn't wearing a hat. Rosa says she suddenly has a bow and arrows. Rosa and Lake volunteer to go and find the hosts, but Rosa gets attacked by a zombie. The two run back into the cabins. They talk about the situation, and Ali says it's a zombie apocalypse. Hunter asks what that is on Rosa's arm, and she shows a bite. Ali says she's bitten. She's gonna turn. Rosa is horrified and asks how to fix it. Ali says the only way would be to cut it off to stop it from spreading. Rosa immediately puts her arm towards Hunter and tells him to cut it off with his machete. Hunter is terrified, but does it anyways to save Rosa. They discuss what to do next until Maggie stutters, Rosa? And points at her. Everyone turns to see a zombified Rosa walking up to them. Rhea tells everyone to jump out the window. Everyone runs off into different directions. I honestly don't think anyone would clock that it's a simulation, except maybe Allie, but even then, I don't think it would matter because she's not as ruthless as Fiore, Gret, or Alec, and wouldn't kill anyone. This challenge would be very boring to go into detail in, so I'll just have to choose the best person equipped for a zombie apocalypse. One thing to be noted is that Rhea spent time with Allie and Hunter before getting left to die on accident. Now, who do I think would live? Well, Aiden and Rosa are either dead or hopeless. Sorry, Aiden. Allie, Maggie, and Lake seem like they'd have potential, but I don't think they are fully equipped to handle a situation like this. So between Rhea and Hunter would win, I think. It doesn't really matter. I can see it going any way except Aiden's. But, you know, we'll just give it to Hunter. After they take off their VR headsets, they all seem dazed. Rosa's glad to have her arm back. She immediately turns to Maggie and asks if she's okay. Maggie says she's fine. Derek explains what the challenge was, and Aiden says it felt like we're in there for months. Derek says that's what the VR made them think. In real life, it was only about 4 hours. Allie says that felt so real. That was so cool. Rhea side-eyes her. In confessional, Rhea asks if Allie has a problem with her. First, she targets her in the last challenge, and now they leave her to die? On the way to the voting ceremony, Rhea asks Maggie who they're voting for. Maggie is unsure what to tell her, but whispers into her ear anyways. The voting ceremony arrives, and in a 5-2 vote, Allie is eliminated. She sighs, but knew this would happen. Hunter's disappointed, but Allie reassures him not to lose sight of the $1 million. They walk off together, where they make their feelings for each other known, just like the original, and Allie leaves. In confessional, Hunter says Rhea flipped on them. They were screwed anyways, but Rhea is playing a solo game. Episode 10, Medal of Dishonor. The Girls Alliance sit around the campfire, and Rhea walks up. In confessional, Rhea says, "Lights, camera, action." She cries as she apologizes to the girls. She says she felt like she didn't belong and took it out on an innocent person instead of being honest. The three girls look at each other. Maggie says it's Lake's call to make. Lake says she forgives her, but says to tell them next time. Rhea nods and thanks them for forgiving her. In confessional, Rhea wipes the tears off her face and grins. She says they didn't even let her explain at first and just ignored her, and if there's one thing she doesn't like, it's being ignored. Aiden sees Hunter sitting at the beach and walks up to him. He asks what he's doing, and Hunter says he's enjoying his last day here. Aiden sits down and proposes an alliance. You know, because they both lost their duo? Hunter smiles and says he'd like that, but then asks if he's sure. Aiden asks why he asks. Hunter says they seem pretty close. Aiden says he'd love to bring Lake to the finale, but the Girls' Alliance seems strong. Something James told him before they even merged, and he didn't listen. Hunter agrees, but can't come up with another topic. He secretly peeks at his flashcards and asks, what's your favorite food? Aiden bursts out laughing. That night, Trevor announces the rules of this challenge. Each camper will be given a torch and a map, which they will use to find medals of different colors by crossing different obstacles, and the first person to retrieve 6 necklaces will win immunity. But then suddenly it starts to rain, putting all the torches out. Derek tells the campers to hurry up before the night becomes deadly, and the challenge begins. The Girls' Alliance plus Rhea decide to split up. Aiden runs after Lake, and Hunter goes off alone. Rhea gets to her first challenge, and finds a note and a shovel saying an immunity idol is hidden. She wastes no time in going for it. In confessional, Rhea cheers, saying this is what she'll need to survive another day. Lake and Aiden get to the archery challenge. Lake wastes no time and hits the target. Aiden is flabbergasted at Lake's skill. Lake says it's nothing, saying her parents made her take all kinds of classes, including archery. Aiden asks Lake to help him, and she does. Aiden in confessional says Lake is scary good at all kinds of things. It's awesome! We see a small montage. Hunter has to hop some logs to get a medal. Rosa and Maggie have to eat chicken and warm stew, which they do together. Aiden balances between two ropes. Lake climbs a cliff, and Rhea finally finds the immunity totem. Maggie and Rosa are at their archery challenge. Rosa manages to hit the target pretty early on and waits for Maggie. Rosa asks if she needs help, and Maggie says she got it, and if Rosa wants to, she can go without her. Maggie keeps missing, but Rosa stays. Eventually, after missing at least 5 times and saying she can do it, Rosa grabs the bow from her and shoots the medal for Maggie. Maggie looks disappointed. Rosa happily hands her the medal, and Maggie unenthusiastically thanks her. In confessional, Maggie admits Rosa's been pretty overbearing since the whole Yule thing. At first it was nice, but now it's getting to a point where she can't even do anything without Rosa on her neck. A little later, Lake runs up to their alliance who just made it back from the muddy bog, together with Rhea. She asks if she can maybe have their medals. She's the closest to winning, and if she can have Rosa's purple, Rhea's orange, and one of Maggie's blue ones, she'll only need to get the red one. They hand them over to Lake, and she thanks them and runs off to the red obstacle. Lake manages to complete the challenge rather easily and make it back, making Lake the winner of today's challenge and gains immunity. The next morning, Hunter runs into Maggie. They catch up a little, and eventually Maggie confides in Hunter about Rosa's babying of her. Hunter says he's not the best with these kind of things, but something he often hears is to just talk to her. Maggie sighs and agrees. She thanks Hunter, who gives her a thumbs up. In confessional, Maggie says she doesn't know what to do. What if Rosa Maria will hate her after? She puts her head in her hands. Rhea approaches Hunter and says she'll vote with him again. Hunter is unsure, saying she flipped last time. Rhea dismisses it, saying Allie was going home anyways. Hunter groans, wanting to push back, but knowing Rhea is right. Rhea says their options are Rosa and Maggie. Aiden is on the outs, they can get him later. Rosa is the glue that holds the girls' alliance together with a great social game, and Maggie only really has physical prowess, but she hasn't won a single immunity. Hunter is not listening at all, and Rhea groans and says he's up for elimination tonight, you know. The girls are voting for him. Hunter is shocked and asks how she knows. She says they told her, duh. In confessional, Hunter is worried and asks if he's really going home. Then Rhea says Hunter is an obvious choice to get rid of, but she needs his vote, unfortunately. The voting ceremony arrives, and in a 3-2-1 vote, Rosa Maria is eliminated. Rosa is shocked. Maggie gasps and immediately apologizes. She says she voted Aiden, thinking nothing would happen. Rosa then turns a sharp gaze towards Rhea and says, "You? Again? Why?" Rhea says it wasn't personal. She's just playing the game. Rosa sighs, trying to regain composure. She asks Lake and Maggie to walk her out, which they do. At the bus stop, Maggie explains her vote. She tells her about her friendship with Hunter and what was bothering her, which Rosa immediately apologizes for and says she didn't realize she was doing it. Maggie apologizes back, saying because of her, she's now gone. Rosa shrugs this off, saying she understands. She tells the two to watch out for Rhea. Lake, Maggie, and Rosa hug, and Rosa gives Lake a last pep talk, saying she can do this. Prove your dad wrong, Lake. In confessional, Maggie facepalms and says her not wanting to vote for a friend caused another friend's elimination. Ugh, this is so messed up. Rhea says she hopes with Rosa Maria gone, Lake and Maggie won't be as strategic. She's seen at first hand she was their leader, and Lake and Maggie are both followers. Without a leader, they are lost. Episode 11. Lights Out. At the cabin, Lake and Maggie sit together while talking. Rhea walks up to them. They both go silent and glare at her. Lake asks what she wants. Rhea says they can save their insults. She offers to work with them to take out Hunter, who is obviously a bigger threat. Maggie says they don't trust her. Rhea shrugs and says, "Suit yourself," and walks off. Lake and Maggie look at each other, worried. The campers meet Derek and Trevor for the challenge, which happens to start at an elevator leading to a cavern below the forest. They'll have to traverse the cavern to find the exit and get back to the surface. Derek explains that each camper will be given backpacks, some with drained flashlights and some with fully charged batteries for those flashlights. So the campers will have to trust each other to share the items, though only one person can win immunity. Derek then warns that if they find something that isn't their fellow campers, to run. In confessional, Rhea says she doesn't trust anyone here. This is going to be difficult. When they get into the cave, a giant scorpion attacks and everyone splits up. Lake and Maggie search their bags and see 2 flashlights. Lake says they'll have to find Aiden or Hunter for batteries. Maggie suggests going without flashlights, but immediately retracts her statement after bats fly above them, causing Maggie to hide behind Lake due to her fear of the dark. Aiden and Hunter search their bags and find batteries. Aiden complains, saying they're screwed. They have to find Lake and Maggie. Suddenly, Aiden gets grabbed by a giant scorpion, and Hunter saves him by ramming into it and tells him to run. Aiden refuses to leave Hunter behind, but doesn't know what to do. Rhea walks into this mess and wants to leave them until Aiden sees she has a flashlight. He tells her they'll give her batteries if she helps Hunter. Rhea complies. Aiden gives her the batteries, and she uses it to shine the scorpion in its eyes, giving Hunter enough time to run. The 3 walk together as Rhea has a light. Rhea tells them who they're thinking of voting tonight. Aiden doesn't waste time and says, "You?" Rhea asks if they're sure. Maggie is a bigger threat, which Aiden does think about. Hunter says he doesn't want to. Aiden argues, saying that it's true. Maggie is a physical threat. Hunter sighs. In confessional, Hunter admits he doesn't want to vote for Maggie. She may be a threat, but she was also his only friend for a while outside of Tess and Allie. Rhea notices his hesitancy and rolls her eyes. The 3 come across a ridge and a rope. Aiden asks how they'll get across. Rhea says, "Like this," and swings to the other side, leaving Hunter and Aiden without a rope. She laughs and abandons them, angering both Aiden and Hunter. Lake and Maggie bump into the 2, who tell them Rhea left them with Aiden's batteries and her flashlight. They scoff, Maggie saying that's typical Rhea. Lake adds she doesn't know what's gotten into her recently. She used to be so kind. Hunter says they have to find another route before Rhea can get out of here. Rhea roams alone in the cave, visibly scared. She tells herself it's going to be fine, just keep looking around for an exit and she'll win, and then they can vote out. Rhea screams at the sight of a scorpion. Hunter, Lake, Maggie, and Aiden just carefully climb down a ledge together until they hear Rhea's screams. Aiden asks if they should help. Lake asks if that's even a question. Of course, she might be shady, but that's not a reason to leave her to die. They run up to the area and see Rhea against the cave wall with a scorpion walking up to her. Maggie says to grab some rocks to throw. The 4 pelt the scorpion with rocks, making it turn around. Rhea tries to run for the ladder, but Aiden is ahead of her. Rhea pushes him off the ladder and climbs up instead, but Maggie grabs Rhea and holds her up, letting Aiden climb. Rhea groans and complains, telling Maggie to put her down. Maggie says this is only payback. Aiden makes it up, winning immunity. He cheers and shudders, saying he'll never go in a cave again. After everyone comes up, Rhea looks disheveled. The 4 stand behind her like disappointed parents. Rhea turns around and thanks them for saving her before walking back into the cabins, conflicted. In confessional, Rhea says she's not going home while flaunting her idol. She says she is genuinely thankful for them helping her and starts feeling bad about her cockiness, but this is still only a game. The voting ceremony arrives, and before the votes can be read out, Rhea stands up and uses the idol on herself. She tells everyone thank you for saving her life, but they are still playing a game, and she doesn't plan on losing. Everyone looks horrified, knowing anyone, except Aiden, can be leaving today. In 4 cancelled votes to 1, Hunter is eliminated. He complains at it being so close to the end and says he could have beaten the final challenge, just like in the original. Rhea's reasoning also stays the same, saying he won the most solo immunities. Of course she's not letting him get further. Hunter tells Aiden, Lake, and Maggie good luck and says, "Rhea, I got nothing for ya." Rhea rolls her eyes. Episode 12, Trials and Tribulations. The episode begins with the final 4 receiving letters from their loved ones. In confessional, Rhea says she got a letter from her little sister, Aisha. She smiles at the letter, saying she's coming home with $1 million. Aiden says his was from his parents. They're rooting for him back home. They also sent a list of potential auditions. Great. Thanks, Mom and Dad. Maggie shows a letter from her siblings in a group photo, telling her they're super proud of her and to think about how far she's come. She tears up a little, saying, "See, I can do something all on my own. Maggie walks up to Lake, who's seen crying in her hands. Maggie asks what's wrong. Lake lifts her head up, revealing a huge smile. Lake gives her letter, and Maggie reads it aloud. Lake, your heart is made of pure gold and didn't deserve the damage that was done to it. Will you be my second daughter? From Rosa Maria. Lake nods and says Rosa wants her to live with her. In confessional, Lake tells the camera that she can't wait to see Rosa in real life again to tell her yes! Rhea walks up to Aiden. Aiden is unenthusiastic and asks what she needs. Rhea says if they want a chance at the finale, Maggie needs to go. Aiden asks how he can trust her, and Rhea says it's too late in the game to lie. She wants the finalists to be her, him, and Lake. Aiden in confessional says that does sound good, but Rhea over Maggie? He's not sure. Later, the campers meet on the cliff for the challenge, which will be played in pairs, and the pair with the most wins would advance to the final 3, along with a single member of the losing pair. The 4 of them reach into a bag for colored stones and the teams are revealed. Aiden and Maggie against Rhea and Lake. Trevor reveals that both teams will compete in a series of mini challenges throughout the day involving typical camping activities, and that the first team to win 3 challenges wins. The first challenge is to dive off the cliff into the marked area below. Rhea and Lake have no issue and both make it into the circle, but Aiden is hesitant to jump. He tells Maggie he's terrified of heights. Maggie says she understands and asks if he wants to jump together. Aiden says he doesn't even want to jump, but he'd rather do it with Maggie than alone. Maggie grabs his hand and counts down. They jump, with Aiden covering his eyes and squeezing Maggie's hand tight. They land, but not in the circle. Aiden complains, saying they did that for nothing, but Maggie says he still jumped. She's proud of him. Aiden smiles. In confessional, Aiden says Maggie is a great person to have by your side while facing your fears. Next challenge is tug of war, and come on, it's not even a question that Maggie and Aiden are winning. Sure, Aiden is weaker than both Rhea and Lake, but Maggie is 10 times stronger than both of them. Easy win. Rhea faceplants into the mud, which makes Maggie and Lake giggle. In the dining hall, Rhea asks to talk to Aiden. Aiden excuses himself to Lake and Maggie and comes with. He asks if she's gonna try him to convince to sabotage Maggie. Rhea says she was going to, yeah. Aiden gives her a big fat no. He'd rather lose to her in the finale than to sabotage a nice girl like her. Rhea scoffs and says, come on, it's $1 million. You're willing to give that up just for a nice girl? Aiden says yes, and says there's more to his life than money, unlike her life apparently, and walks off. Rhea is furious. Lake asks him what she wanted, and Aiden lies, saying she tried to apologize for what happened in the cave. Meanwhile, Derek walks in on Trevor dancing and asks what he's doing. Trevor tries getting his partner in crime to dance with him, but Derek rejects him and insults Trevor's dancing, before reminding him that they still had to clean up the north side of the camp. Trevor tries changing Derek's mind by saying that dancing is a good way to express feelings. He replies, saying that it isn't how his brain works. Trevor still feels the need to celebrate. They'd been working to have their own reality show for years. Derek still isn't convinced, as he wants to clear the camp out for the next season to avoid any lawsuits related to animal injuries. Later that afternoon, they meet up for the third challenge, which involves making a fire with sticks and stones. I think Lake would be able to do this for her and Rhea and give them the point, since she probably either had to do it at some point or learned about it for one of her books. The next challenge has the teams climb up a flagpole to retrieve a flag, and the first team to get it wins. Maggie tells Aiden to get on her shoulders. Rhea tells Lake to use her hands to climb up. Aiden tries to reach up and jump a little and grabs the flag before tumbling down. Maggie apologizes and Aiden says he's fine while giving a thumbs up. They then make it to the final challenge, which is an endurance test to see how long both teams can hold on to a totem pole. The longest one standing wins immunity for their team. In confessional, Maggie's nervous, saying her grip strength isn't the best, and she's pretty large, so she hopes Aiden will be able to win this for them. Once the campers are on their poles, the challenge begins, and soon after, Maggie already starts slipping and eventually her butt hits the ground. She sighs and tells Aiden he can do this. Aiden smiles uncomfortably. Rhea goes a bit after. She looks worried at the last two on the pole. Aiden looks at Rhea, then at Maggie, as he sees Lake struggling to stay on the pole. He has to choose, eliminate Maggie or eliminate Rhea. Lake keeps getting closer and closer to the ground, with Aiden's eyes flickering between the two as he starts sweating. Lake is about to hit the ground and Aiden lets himself fall, disguising it as him not being able to hold on. Maggie sighs, but says Aiden tried his best. Rhea and Lake cheer. Derek then announces the tricky part and asks the winning team who they'll decide to take to the finale with them. Lake asks if they have to decide now, and Derek nods, saying right here, right now. Rhea proudly votes for Aiden to come with them to the finals. Maggie looks worried. Lake is unsure, looking at her two best friends in the competition. Maggie, I'm sorry. I have to choose between my two best friends, and between the two of you. I have more chance to win against Aiden. I choose Aiden to take with us. Maggie looks at Lake, processing what just happened, but then smiles. She says she understands. She hugs Aiden and Lake tight and tells them she couldn't be happier with herself and thanks them for an amazing experience. The four and the hosts walk to the bus stop together. Maggie in confessional is giddy, saying she couldn't make a friend on day one for being a threat, and then she gets voted out 10 eliminations later for the same reason. Maggie takes the bus of losers with pride, and then there were 3. Episode 13, A Heart's Desire. The episode opens with Derek and Trevor welcoming the viewers. Derek reveals that they allowed the finalists some time to say a few words before the final challenge. Aiden says he does feel bad for robbing Maggie of the finale, but says she was too strong of a competitor. He says he does really like her still, and hopes she didn't take it personally. What was it like being here? He began as a super fan of reality TV, and then realized how rough it can really be to get betrayed and lose your biggest allies. But he would be lying if he didn't enjoy it here. What will he be remembered for? Maybe, winning the season. Hopefully. He doesn't really know. Lake says if you told her she'd be in the finale, she wouldn't have believed you. What has she learned during her time here? That she's her own person and doesn't have to listen to anyone if she doesn't want to, like Trevor did. She may be kicked from her home. She knows a loving home is waiting for her due to Rosa Maria. She's going to win that million to show herself that she's someone that isn't to be controlled by her parents. Rhea gets asked if she would have preferred someone else here instead of Lake or Aiden. Maybe the early boots, since they would be easier to win against. Otherwise, not really. Did I enjoy it here? No. But when I win the million, my answer will still probably be no, but at least I'd be rich. Trevor reveals they've interviewed the eliminated campers so they could share their experiences. Connor admits he would have liked to stay longer, but meeting Rhea was one of the best things that could have happened to him. He's proud of how he played and knows the sacrifice wasn't in vain. Maggie says she gained self-confidence in herself. She got 4th place! She's proud of herself for signing up and making all the friends she'd ever dreamt of. Oh, and she got to see Kai again. Kai says he was glad to have been guided to play this game. He may not have been there for long, but says his soul is rejuvenated, and now he can put all his energy into manifesting new opportunities. He adds he's been helping his pure-hearted Maggie on her self-discovery journey. Carol says she was stupid to have trusted Connor. Men are never to be trusted. Allie says she and Hunter are officially dating now. She's disappointed she couldn't make it further, but is happy with what she walked away with. You know what they say, love is more valuable than money. Yule says he has nothing to say except that he deserved it way more than TikTok e-boy, Daddy's Girl, and Bollywood. Trevor and Derek welcome the eliminated campers so they can choose who to root for. Tess, James, Ali, and Hunter root for Aiden. Kai, Rosa Maria, and Maggie root for Lake, leaving Rhea with Carol, Connor, and Yule. The hosts tell them to pick a helper for the challenge waiting before them. Aiden picks James, Lake picks Rosa, and Rhea picks Connor. Trevor explains the final challenge, which will be a 2-parter. In the first part, players must dive into a lake to look for a key, and they must run to the dining hall to open a chest that contains a map. Once they have their map, they must grab a shovel and run to the finish line. The first 2 campers to cross the finish line wins the first part, with the 3rd place being eliminated. The challenge begins, and the contestants are off. Aiden runs up to Lake and tells her they need to slow Rhea down. If he has anything to do with it, it'll be them in the finals. Connor and Rhea catch up, with Connor saying he's proud she made it this far. Rhea thanks him. She then asks him if he's been watching, and Connor says he hasn't due to having a business to run. The 3 groups make it to the lake. James, Lake, and Rhea dive into the water. Before Lake can grab her key, Rhea snatches it right from her nose and goes up for air. Lake comes up for air and yells at her. Rosa, Maria, Aiden, and James are annoyed. Aiden tells James to help Lake get a different key. James says, "Sir, yes sir," and goes to help Lake. Connor complains, asking Rhea if that was necessary. Rhea says it was if she wants to have a chance at the million. Connor then keeps asking as they enter the cabin. He asks if this is why Carol and Yule are on her side. The Rhea he knew would have more supporters. Rhea groans, saying to just focus. Connor disagrees and wants to argue, but the 2 duos run into the cabin. Rhea groans at Connor for making her lose her lead and runs out with both the shovel and the map. Connor walks after her, as Lake, Rosa, Aiden, and James run past him. The 4 run, and Aiden says they're not gonna beat Rhea like this. Rosa complains about her sabotage, and Lake says that's the only way she could have made it this far. As they approach the finish line, Aiden stops. James asks what he's doing. The finish line is right there. Lake and Rosa stop as well. Aiden says he wants Rhea to lose just as bad as them, but it should be Lake, not him. Lake asks what he means, and Aiden says she's got a way better chance to beat her. He's happy taking the bronze if it means seeing Lake get the gold. Lake smiles and hugs Aiden before Lake and Rosa run towards the finish line. James compliments Aiden's heroism. Aiden sighs and says it's better than seeing Rhea win. James grabs Aiden's waist and says this gives him enough time to catch up. Aiden blushes. Rhea makes it in first, with Lake and Rosa right behind her, meaning the final 2 are Lake and Rhea, eliminating Aiden in 3rd place. Trevor asks where she left Connor, and Connor walks up saying here. He goes to sit on Rhea's bleachers. Derek shrugs and then explains the second part of the challenge. They have to dig into the sand pit to find a gas canister, which they'll use to fill up a go-kart on the cliff and race to the finish line. And the first to cross wins the $1 million. 3, 2, 1, go! The 3 run to the sand pit. Rhea tells Connor to help her, and Connor refuses, saying she's helped herself enough. This time, it shouldn't be any different. Rhea scoffs and keeps digging. Lake and Rosa dig together. They watch as Rhea finds her gas canister first, but not long after, Lake's find theirs. They run up the hill and see Rhea just finished filling her tank. Lake fills hers and waves to Rosa, with Rosa telling her, "Drive safe!" The 2 race almost side to side, but Lake is gaining speed. This causes Rhea to speed up, which causes Lake to speed up, which causes Rhea to speed up, which makes Lake speed up. Rhea speeds up again, but sees another turn in the road which she wasn't expecting, causing her to crash. Lake is horrified, but keeps going and manages to finish in first. Meaning, Lake Mueller is the winner of DISVENTURE Camp Season 1. Rhea gets up, charred after the crash. Connor walks up to her and asks if she's okay. Rhea at first is mad, but then starts crying, saying she was so desperate to win and saying she fought so hard. She almost made it. Almost. Connor consoles her. At the bus stop, Lake is given her $1 million until the cops arrive to arrest Derek and Trevor and Jensen. They ask how this is possible until Lake's father steps out the police car. Lake is horrified. Trevor says, "Oh dear," as it's revealed that when Trevor said no to him, Lake's father hired a private investigator to scope out the area to get Lake home. But what they didn't realize was Derek and Trevor's crimes. Derek is furious and refuses to give himself up and points a gun at Lake's dad and the police, saying they'll never take them alive. Then we see the back of someone pounce on Derek, letting the cops safely arrest him before the hooded individual runs off into the woods. Trevor is also arrested and asks Lake to bail them out, which she refuses. Jensen then appears and steals the money from Lake. The shadow once again appears on top of the truck and disappear with it, leaving the contestants, the police with Derek and Trevor in handcuffs and a shaking Oliver behind them who doesn't know what's going on. Lake's father says to Lake it's time for them to head home. Lake asks, "What?" Her father says she heard him. They're going home. Lake gulps, and then gathers the courage to say no. Her father says, "What?" Lake says she doesn't want to return home. She won't be their perfect doll to play with as they wish. She's her own person, with her own personal goals, which will never include going home ever again. Lake's father wants to retort, until he gets a call. He pucks up and says he'll be there, and hangs up. He says that's fine. Figure out how to live on her own. She'll be crawling back to them any day now. He gets in the car and asks the police to drive him off. Everyone watches him leave, and Lake takes a sigh. Rosa asks where the case is, and Hunter asks if they died. Tess chuckles, saying of course not. Lake sighs, saying they might just have to stay another night. Yule scoffs, saying he'd rather die. Everyone turns around to walk back, having accepted the money is gone. Rosa Maria comforts Lake, but then hears an from behind her. She turns around to see the case on the ground. She tells everyone to turn around, and Lake picks up the case with the money. Maggie picks Lake up, and people cheer for her. As everyone cheers, Rhea gets a call. She's gotten overload in auditions, and almost all of them are for villain roles. Rhea's excited, but says she'll think about it, with a smile. Aiden asks Lake what she's going to do with the money, and Lake says she's going to use it for her degree in literature. She turns to Rosa and thanks her for taking her in. She says she wants to give a share to her and her family. Rosa is super thankful and saying she didn't have to. Lake then also shares some money with Aiden and Maggie for being there for her. The bus then comes to pick everyone up, showing one last scene with Kai and Maggie holding hands, with Maggie blushing, Tess giggling at Allie and Hunter bickering over video games, Rhea leaning against Connor's shoulders looking content, and Aiden and James sharing their second kiss. This was the end of this What If. In the end, James gets voted out in 8th instead of being a winner, Lake winning instead of being 8th, Aiden and Rhea still in their canon placements, Maggie makes it way further, and the worst crime of all, Lake did not get a new wig. Did you agree with the boot order? Is there something you changed now that the season is over? I'm overjoyed with the amount of support I got on the first part, so thank you. I'm definitely planning on continuing this series, with the next video being the season forecast in season 2. Please leave your feedback below like the last time, and thank you so much for watching, and I hope I will see you in the next one. Goodbye!